you for watching live from the Dick Keefe studio. Michaela Hurley and I are back. Okay, it's been a little bit. I'm trying to be a little bit careful, and hopefully things will work out. But you do have to be careful. And we've been away, and we'll see what happens. Michaela Hurley and Tom Cummings bring you once again inside Norwood. Welcome. Any comments? 781-769-1478. Patriots Tom at Verizon.net. Our sponsor, J.C. Jacobs Plumbing and Heating, 1156 Washington Street, right near the ball school. Great people, been sponsoring me for years and do one hell of a job. They really do. They'll fix something, and so I just want to thank Joan, who I've known for many, many years. Some of our topics today. Update on the vaccine. There's been a big change. There's been a big change just over the weekend. That's my understanding. Recent snowstorm. I think they did pretty well. I heard one complaint on it, but I think they did pretty well. I'm up. I get up many times at night. Okay, I'm up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's coming down. You can barely see across the street. That street is clean. That's unbelievable. Great job, guys. New tax rate. Oh, wow. My taxes are going up again. We'll talk to Tony and my good friend over here, David, in a minute. My commentary this afternoon, where are we going to hear more information on Norwood Hospital's plans for the future? I think that's, beside the virus, I think that's the most important issue in this town right now. I'm scared. I really am. Us seniors are looking for some help. If I have a problem, God forbid, at 1 o'clock in the morning, and that ambulance, that great system we have in place, those firefighters, those ambulance drivers, they're unbelievable. But time is time, and time is critical when you're sick, especially as a senior. We know that they will most likely rebuild, but immediate attention has to be taken for some emergency facility. Our residents deserve that, especially our senior population. So real critical for so many. Our guest this afternoon, Selectman David Ajar, along with our great town manager, Tony Mazzucco. And I want to thank you and David for joining us today. And David, you want to pick up on the Norwood Hospital, please?
Sure. Thank you for having me, Tom, and it's good to be back. And I'm glad you give Mr. Mazzucco the adjective great while I'm just Selectman David. But don't worry, don't let that bother you. Anyways, no, the hospital itself is, I think we need to separate it into two. One is what they want to do long term as far as building a new hospital, and the second point might be what can they do in the short period of time regarding the emergency room. They are related in some aspect because they don't want to do anything to the site that exists today, even for an emergency room situation, because it would make it more costly for them to build a brand new hospital because they somehow have to keep it up and running in some part of that facility while trying to tear everything else down around it. I just don't think it would work logistically or costly or efficiently. So I think that the hospital, Tony and our chairman, Bill Plasko, are trying to work with a hospital representative or two to come before the board just to give us an update of where they stand regarding their inner workings with the insurance company. I think we have to remember that this is a private enterprise situation. We cannot somehow throw ourselves in the middle of a discussion that says, well, we want this and we want that. That's really not our role, and it's not the role of government in general. It's a private hospital that they have their own process they have to follow, especially dealing with the insurance company and getting their funding. What we can do as a government is make it worthwhile for them to stay here and ask them what they need from a zoning perspective, a building perspective, to make it more conducive for them to build on this site a brand new hospital. And I think we've done that with some upcoming zoning that's going to be presented, and I think people will be very happy about that. But I know people don't like it takes time. I mean, you can't go through what the hospital did and come up with a plan just in 6 months and say, oh, here's what we're going to do. even if they got approval tomorrow with regards to their insurance reimbursement and everything else, it's still months and months of design that it would take, and approvals through our own zoning board, probably both Board of Appeals and the planning board. We'll see, but it will take time.
Tony?
Yeah, I'd echo what David said. To take us back a minute to talk about the hospital, we remember there was the flood, and gray water flooded through the building, so it's water from the ground. The hospital needs to renovate. The problem that they run into is they're held to a higher standard than your home or my home or a commercial storm or a commercial building. So when you need to renovate over a certain dollar amount of the value of your building, it triggers the new building code, so you have to bring everything up to code. So sometimes that code might be, especially for a hospital, how big a room is. Well, you can't just make rooms bigger. It can be how wide a hallway is. Well, you can't just make a hallway wider. So you quickly come to the conclusion that to renovate the building, to bring it back, you're going to exceed that number. You have to bring the whole thing up to code. There's almost no way to bring it up to code without tearing it down and rebuilding it. So that's sort of the challenge they're facing. As David said, they're waiting to hear back from their insurance company, just like you or I would with our home. If you had damage to your home, you need to know what insurance is going to pay for. So you might say, gee, all right, my kitchen had $20,000 worth of damage. Here's the new kitchen I'd like, but I got to make sure insurance is going to give me the fair value. And just as you or I would fight with our insurance company, or David would want to fight with his insurance company to make sure you get the most value, the hospital's got to do that as well, because you're talking about a new building costing $150 million, $200 million. Now the ER in particular, which is the priority, is really challenging. What makes the ER a life-saving space for us is really the cath lab that they have in the ER. That's if somebody in the area is having a heart attack, that's where you want to get them treated. So the hospital, we talked with them about setting up a temporary ER somewhere on Route 1. And the problem is you couldn't do the cath lab. By the time you get through the equipment and the design for it and the approvals and everything, you'd be a year or two into that. Without the cath lab, all it really is a place they stabilize you and then send you on to another hospital, which is what the our EMTs do, and I think you're right. We do have a great fire and EMS department. So they looked at, could they get part of the hospital back up and running for the emergency room, and they'd have to build a utility plant outside the hospital. So even if they brought in temporary equipment, they'd be looking at a couple of months to do that. They might be able to get it up and running. Then they need to look at tearing down the building and eventually tearing that down and stopping it for a while. So you'd have an ER that might be up for running for a couple months, then you lose the cath lab, then it comes back for a few months, then you lose it again. So it's a really terrible situation, but that's sort of the complexity that they're facing. I talk to the hospital CEO every week, the President Perla of the hospital, and he keeps us up to date, although sometimes there's no real update on what's going on other than they're waiting and they're working through their process. Again, anyone who's had a major home loss or a major business loss and has had to go through that insurance process knows how complicated it is. Can you imagine how much more complicated it is for a $150 million building with millions and millions of dollars worth of equipment in there? I'm still hopeful, and we still believe that what we're eventually going to see is a brand new facility that's going to be a regional facility that's going to lead the region, that's probably going to have some additional services that it doesn't have today. It's just getting us from here to there. And it's taking a toll on our police department, and it's taking a toll on our fire and EMS department. All across the region, it's taking that toll. So we're still confident we're going to get there. I just think it's going to be some time before we have the ER up and running. We all thought a couple of weeks, then we thought a couple of months, and now we're realizing that the odds weren't in our favor in a quick return of the ER. But what we do believe is the hospital's moving forward, and as David said, they are a private business. They have their own sort of considerations. It's not that they don't want to get up and open. They're losing millions of dollars every single week by not being open. I mean, they're a private business. They make money. Probably just today, when COVID started and they had to cancel elective procedures, they were losing $500,000 a day. So they're losing an inordinate amount of money. The whole chain is by not being open. So they want to get open as soon as they can, but it's the complexity of doing it safely. I'm hoping that this is just a brief dark period, and in a couple of years we'll all be at the groundbreaking of the new Norwood Hospital that will be our hospital for the next 150 years.
And just one other comment. Tony touched upon about it's the region. Our region regarding the hospitals, 13 area towns. So not only are we suffering because we have to send our own personnel either to Brockton, to Needham, to lots of Boston sometimes. These other 13 towns have to find an area hospital to drive to too. So they know, the hospital staff knows that it's having an impact on everybody around here. but they still have to do their due diligence to make it come out right for everybody. And like Tony says, let's hope in 2.5 years, we'll all be very happy with what we see.
How confident is the board about them staying here? Not that they're gonna commit. Have they made any commitment yet? Or is there a possibility they may say, hey, see you later, it's gonna cost us too much, and bye-bye?
Well, Tony can back me up. They have never said anything other than they want to rebuild.
Yeah,
in
okay.
Norwood. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of it will take on, can they come to agreement with their insurance company, and between the insurance money and their internal funds available, can they do it? Will they try to get state money? There's some of those things that we're not privy to because they're internal to their very large company, and we'll see where that leads. But they haven't given us any negatives about
No,
not
they've always
wanting
said
to
that-
leave. So they,
No, but in the past, they've had some problems. I mean, that hospital, going back a good number of years. I've had some problems in there. My
yeah,
wife
but
has
the
had
past
some
few
problems
years
in
up
there.
until
you know.
the flood, we've had a very, very good relationship with them, and our own.
You got, the officials in this town, I hope they understand how the seniors are uptight. We are uptight, believe me,
Well,
Have,
I know with just Norwood, but there are many
oh,
towns
sure,
around us
yeah,
that
no question about
they're
it.
hearing it
Yeah.
from their seniors
Yeah.
as well. I have to go to Ware. I
Yeah.
can't just go to Norwood, and we all know that. It's just that we can't change that timeline.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
really, all we
Hey.
can do is work with them, and hopefully we're setting the right business environment for them to say, let's do this.
Yeah. Have you given any consideration, any thoughts about maybe using one of these other facilities like Dedham Medical, I guess it is, right there in Route 1, to maybe help us out a little bit? I just had that thought just now. Maybe something on a temporary basis. Because, it's not only for seniors, but if you get an injury, you get a cut or whatever maybe you want to be taken care of. And those firemen, those firefighters, the great system we have in place. They are there. I've seen it. I've seen it at least 15 times, okay? Them guys go to work, and boy, what a job. I say them guys, women and guys, they do one hell of a job. They really do.
That's why they get. That's why they get the training they do, to be able to do something that's even life-threatening when they respond. That they can do something that needs to be done to save that individual or whatever parts
Yeah.
of the body they have to
Yeah.
try to save. The problem with going to a place like Dedham Medical, it's not physically set up to be an ER where a truck can roll in, like an
Yeah,
ambulance
oh,
can
I
roll in
understand,
and
yeah.
understand. So again, you're talking alterations, like Tony said, it would take months for this to happen, and by then, wouldn't you rather have them focusing on, let's spend all of our attention, time, and money to trying to get a new hospital designed, approved, and then start construction? Any local facility, unless it's pretty wide open, is going to have difficulty accepting ambulances in the traffic in and around that area, because again, if you're just talking Norwood, that's one thing, but I don't think we can be that parochial about it, in that you're talking about other towns wanting to be able, hey, if it's good enough for Norwood, why can't it be good enough for us? And if it's being run by Dedham Medical and Stewart
I just had
Hospital.
a thought about
So,
that,
yeah, I know.
trying to look, what the hell?
Yeah, as I said, we looked at whether they could do an alternate site. The problem comes to the equipment that really saves lives, things like the cath lab and having an OR and having beds for people to go to. You sort of need all of that for the ER to work. I mean, I know that I'm certainly keenly aware we all miss the comfort of knowing there's an ER right there, that no matter what happens, I can drive myself to the ER and it's there. It's sort of like having a 24-hour pharmacy. We like feeling that sense of security that it's right there and I can go there, and I wish we had it. You get a stomach problem in the middle of the night, you cut yourself, you think you break, anything from minor all the way to serious. We all miss the comfort and the security and the safety of knowing that there's an ER right there and I can always go there. And we want to get back to it. It's just there's not a lot of steps in between there. The EMTs, if you call 911, they will always respond. Urgent care is available. It's right over the line in Westwood, and there's more of those opening up. There's actually, in Walpole, and there's actually one in Westwood. So there's more and more of those urgent care facilities open where, gee, I'm coming down with a cold. I think I'm getting something. I got to see somebody, or man, I'm in some pain. Let me go there. And they can also transfer you to an emergency room if needed. They're not an emergency room. If it's an emergency, you need to call 911. But paramedics will always respond. Urgent cares are going to help fill that backlog. But I too look forward to the day when we can go back to the comfort of knowing there's just an ER right down the road from us.
Okay, yeah. Tony, you've been here about 3.5 years?
3 years. Actually, this past Friday marks 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, oh, so I'm under money.
Time flies when you have
Thought
fun.
about that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not one for always giving out compliments, but it's amazing how you're into everything. You're into everything. You work long hours. You love it.
I do love it.
You got some good people to work for, and I'll tell you something. I'm impressed. I really am. There's a lot going on in this town. You know, when John Carroll left, yeah, we have some things. You know, John was slowed down a little bit. You know, that's okay. You know, it's going to happen. And when things were not, you know, and then you come in and the senior things start to pick up dramatically. I don't know whether you get into it more, but I'll tell you, I'm quite impressed. I really am. I think you really do a good job. You know, it's been amazing, and you know, we could call you and you're available, and it's really good. I want to get into
How much did you pay him?
I want to get
Plenty.
into the Bach funds. David, Mr. Ernie Bach has come forward once again, helping us out.
Yep.
And will you tell us what's going on with the Bach funds?
Well, the last meeting, the board approved the generous donation of $31,500 by Ernie Bach in basically memory of his father and grandfather. We extended applications. We got a couple more that came in on time, but they weren't in our original packet. Anyways, everybody's dollars were able to be funded. So the total request came up to $31,450, and the board decided to give $50 additional to the Norwood Food Pantry. So that takes care of the full funding. So anyone who had submitted an application, it was approved for the full amount, which is great news. There were a lot of good applications for a lot of good services that people want to provide, or issues that they want to try to deal with, and helping a lot of different types of individuals. It was good to see. It was good to see all the different write-ups, and I am so glad that we were able to prove all of them without having to say to somebody, oh, well, we had to cut you, or we couldn't include you. Everybody's submission
Thanks
was
a lot.
approved, so it's good. So.
Tony, any comment on the Bach funds?
No, we're happy to get it every year, and we're glad that there was enough money to go around this year. And I think it was particularly helpful with some of the organizations. It's been tough to raise funds. A lot of the traditional events that different groups do to raise funds, they haven't been able to do this year. And not all of them translate to digital events very easily.
And this is a big year. This is the biggest because of, as Tony said, you know, hey, you know, a lot of people can't, a lot of corporations, businesses can't do it. And I personally want to thank Chairman Plasko, Helen Donahue, Tom Maloney, Matt Lane, and of course, one of my great friends, David Ajah, for keeping these programs going and keeping Mikhail Hurley right on target and right at what she's doing, and she does a hell of a job for us. And we're going to pick up the funding. As soon as I get the vaccine, we'll be back big time, believe me. Now, the vaccine, there's been a big change here, guys, you know, I think it's from 60 and up. That was one of the drop-offs, 60 and higher. They've changed that now. My understanding is this over the weekend from 75 going up forward. And am I glad to hear that? You better believe it, I am. I'm sorry for the people, but hey, you know, and I think that was a good move, and they're going to start giving the vaccine distributions. And I want to know, either one of you, either David or Tony, what's happening in our town? As you know, has somebody been selected to oversee this? And David or Tony, whatever one wants. Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
So I can jump in there, Tom. You know, for about 20 years after 9/11, cities and towns and states planned and drilled for the possibility that we would have to do an emergency dispensing of a vaccine and to do a mass vaccination. For whatever reason, the federal government, in their wisdom, has decided that they've created their own framework. That's not the plan we spent 20 years and billions of dollars across the country planning on, training on, developing on, having meetings on. They're going off on their own. They've created their own sort of distribution process. We know that we'll likely be responsible for vaccinating our own first responders. And Norwood is actually taking the lead for this region in making sure first responders get vaccinated through our health collaborative. But the public vaccinations, which will come later this spring, The federal government's rolling that out through private providers, so that'll likely be things like Walgreens and CVS,
yeah.
as well as your doctor's offices, as well as hospitals. What they'll probably do is a lot of the testing centers you see around the state will get converted from testing centers to vaccination centers. It's interesting they chose to leave local emergency management and local public health out of doing that, because that's what they've spent billions of dollars on since 9/11 on training and developing. So what will likely, as I said, the vaccine that's going out now to nursing homes and to hospitals, that's all being handled directly through those institutions. We'll be responsible for taking care of first responders. We're not sure yet when it gets into critical industry workers or critical infrastructure workers, which will be public works, electric utility, and teachers are in sort of that second phase. We think we still may be handling it for them, but we also believe the mass vaccination is going to be handled through the market, which is what the federal government decided. Instead of using, again, 20 years of planning, where we've been preparing for this for 20 years, not just in Norwood, but in every community in Massachusetts and throughout the country, and they've decided not to go with their existing plans, and they've made up a new framework.
Yeah, David, you can pick up on that, but my understanding is that people 75 and older, February is going to be a big month, and that's not far off.
Nope.
I feel great about it. I'll be able to travel out to Colorado again, guys. Dave, you want to add to Tony's
they're
comment?
part of the phase two. The over 75 originally was over 65. Now it's over 75. Lucky you. But yeah, I mean, Tony outlined what's going to happen in phase one, and that's going to be probably within a couple of weeks. We will be able to start distributing and giving out the doses.
Wouldn't the firefighters and the policemen get them right now?
They are. They're part of. So there's different steps to each of the phases.
Right.
The very first vaccines went to hospitals. So that's
okay.
first and foremost. They went to hospitals. It's then being sent to nursing homes and assisted living care facilities. That's where we saw most of the loss of life. The next step in this first phase is first responders. Right. What we've been told by the state is we anticipate that we'll be able to vaccinate first responders around the middle of the month. Now remember that it'll take a month because then you got to get your second stop, but we're hopeful that by the middle of January, we'll get all of our first responders vaccinated. It'll probably take us just a couple of days by the middle of January. February is when you're going to start seeing your older populations go, and teachers and other populations. So there's 3 phases, but each phase has a number of steps in the process.
Has anybody got a shot yet? Do you know?
I know of people personally who have gotten it, and they've been fine. I know some people who participated in Moderna's study, and they've been fine. If you want to talk for a minute about vaccine safety, there's a couple of things we can talk about. I can't wait to get the vaccine. I'm probably at the very end. I don't get it ahead of town managers may oversee a lot of things, but at the end of the day, we're in the last category when it comes to getting the vaccine. Although if I could tell a quick funny story, I was having a conversation with somebody. Congress has gotten vaccinated, and this person said to me, well, why is Congress getting vaccinated? I said, oh, well, continuity of government is absolutely important. What if there was some sort of a national emergency and they need to be able to act? And the person sort of looked at me like they are now, and I said, well, this is an example of where there's an emergency and they're not doing much, but neither here nor there. So I'll be getting the vaccine at the end. I can't wait to get it. It has been tested. It has gone through a rigorous process. Tens of thousands of people are taking it without a problem. And remember, it does go through a good, solid scientific review process. And it'll likely be an annual vaccine. We're not 100% sure yet, so this might become like your flu vaccine where you need to get it every year. But it's also only a small amount of material. We've been doing vaccines in this country since polio, if not before. So, if you think of the flu, and I wouldn't say COVID is like the flu, it's certainly more deadly, but we've been doing flu vaccines for decades. We're well aware of what this is. Public health is well aware of what it is. So the vaccine is going to be safe. I can't wait to take it myself. I know that Chief Brooks and Chief Maurice have already said they cannot wait until they get that vaccine, and we're going to take their pictures when they get it. You're going to be able to see them, and they'll be waving and smiling, and I bet they won't even wince when the little needle goes in because they're both tough guys. But they can't wait to get it. I can't wait to get it. David can't wait to get it. I know you can't wait to get it. So everyone's going to get the vaccine.
But Tony, I've taken my own little survey, okay, because of the show, of course, and I find a lot of people not going to get it up front.
I think what they're saying I don't want to get it because they're worried. What you're going to see even now in 30 days from now that you didn't even have 30 days ago is people who have gotten it. If you look on social media, there's a lot of nurses and doctors posting pictures, hey, I just got my shot.
Yeah.
So when you take it as an academic concept, I don't know if I want that vaccine because, I'm not sure about it. And then you start seeing all the nurses and all the doctors and everyone else that are getting
Absolutely.
it. That's sort of what you want to look at. I mean, I think Dr. Fauci got his, or he will be soon, and once he does, I know that certainly makes me feel comfortable getting it.
The other thing I want to add is This is not, I know people like to make it a political thing because, oh, it was warp speed and they didn't do all the testing, but people need to understand that the actual testing piece of it, the evaluation of it, the analysis of it, was done by independent professionals. Nothing connected to any political party or political affiliation. These were experts that analyze anything that comes before the FDA to ensure the right protocols were followed, the right number of tests were administered to ensure that if there were any reactions, they could evaluate them properly and what they would be. So I think Tony's right. As more and more people get it, people hopefully will relax about accepting it. People will, after their first shot, I think they get a card that says that they received the first shot, and it'll have a date on it for their second shot. At least that's what I was told, at least for the Pfizer one. So, and that's a good thing. And so I think hopefully people will calm down. My main concern is that with the flu shot, we're still a good percentage of the population doesn't take it. And that is of concern to me. If you're not willing to take the flu shot, I'm not sure about this. But like Tony said, this one's a lot more deadlier, so maybe people will take it, hopefully, as seriously and say, no, we can do it. And as long as the success rate is there, I think you'll see more and more people say, yeah, you're right, I'm going to take it.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I got a suggestion. No politics, as you said, in this vaccine. I got a suggestion for you. I'll take the first shot in front of the board of selectmen live on the TV, no politics asked. I'll take the first shot, just keep that in mind. But I do suggest strongly that you do maybe do it in front of the board. Give some show. Hey, maybe somebody that's vulnerable that maybe wouldn't take the shot, so everybody else could feel better about it. That's just a suggestion, okay? But it's going to work. We're going to be okay. We are. And when you think about it, we're so close right now. We are. That's why I kind of stay away from trying to do anything. I try to isolate myself. I've been out to Colorado since August, and but we're so close.
We are.
We're
so
very
close.
We
Yes.
really are.
Yep.
Okay. How about last week's snowstorm? Mark Ryan and his crew are right out there. Believe me, I'm up, as I mentioned earlier. I see the plow going by, and it's coming down, and oh man, I couldn't see across the street. It was coming down so bad. What, about 13 inches?
13 and a half inches was
Any
the official
comments,
total.
Tony?
Yeah, 13 and a half inches was the official total. And we were lucky. It was a lot of snow, but it was otherwise just snow. And that's it. We didn't have power outages. We didn't have any serious accidents or serious injuries. It was just a lot of snow. It fell in a shorter period of time, but we'd actually rather take a 13 and a half inch storm than 3, 4, or 5 inch storms. It ends up being a little bit cheaper to be able to do it. The whole storm comes, we're able to take care of the storm, do the snow removal afterwards. The DPW did a fantastic job under difficult circumstances, but we were fortunate. It was just a lot of snow in a short period of time, and that's it.
Did you guys hire a lot of contractors?
We do. That's one of the reasons we're able to be as effective as we are, is we would need more staff than we have to take care of the winter. So we always hire contractors. We're always looking more. If you are a contractor, you can always contact the DPW. But between our own crew and the contractors we hire, that's how we're able to do the job we do around town.
That's great. I got somebody for you. Maybe we'll see. I'll try to get him involved, and he needs something to need a little work. And helps a lot of people. Tony, it really does.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Did this storm cost us a lot?
We haven't gotten the final numbers yet. It was a big storm, but again, it's better to have a bigger storm than smaller storms, because once you send the crew out and they start going out, the total number of hours for this storm, if it had been broken up into 3 different storms, would have cost twice as much.
And Mark controls that from his office. Remember, David, we went in
his
to see
office,
that?
and he's out and about.
Amazing. Mark stays up all night. Mark Ryan's up. He's up all night. I'm sure watching it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Watch what's going on.
He's got a crew.
Anything else on that, Tony? You want to add to this? No.
No, I think what helped about no accidents and no severe issues is that I think most people were home anyways.
Yep.
And everyone knew in advance that a major storm was coming, so less people were out on the road, and the town was able to get its fleet and outside contractors in there to do what they needed to do without worrying about so many vehicles being on the road trying to get either home from work or to work, whatever. And so I'm sure that helped somewhat.
Yeah. It's not on as a topic, but I like to inject the update on, if you will, on paving of the roads. We're making, are we making little advances? Are we making progress on this?
Not only are we making progress, we're leaping ahead.
Yeah.
Town meeting approved a $2.5 million road bond back in November. So this coming spring, you're going to see $2.5 million worth of road work, followed up in July with an additional $1.5 million from our regular budgetary allocation.
So you're going to pick it up even more.
This calendar year,
Love
from
it.
calendar 21, you're going to see $4 million worth of paving.
And you know what? You know what that's going to do? These guys go out there, and it's like, I don't want to use the term, but they're fixing these streets and they break down again. This is going to correct that, I would think.
It is.
Hey, let me just show. I can remember going back 4 years ago, 5 years ago on Table Talk, and I put my wallet out, and I took my check card out, my credit card out. I says, "Here's what you have to do. Put it right there on the
Should have
table."
taken it back.
I know, I should have.
I love it. That's great. So David.
Well, we have literally 3 pots of money that we're now putting to roads. You have the normal Chapter 90. You have the override, which gave an additional
$300,000, but we have about $300,000 of the operating budget in there too.
So 4 pots of money and the additional bond money that hopefully we'll be able to continue that for a few years. That would really catch us up, so that all we would need after a number of years is just some internal money in Chapter 90 to keep up with the yearly, and we'll be fine. But what I like about this program is we're not just trying to fix the roads, we're looking into sidewalks and curbing so that we can have some standards on where and what we're installing. But we like concrete sidewalks. We love those. They are more expensive, but they last longer, and they certainly look a lot better. So I think credit to the town for prioritizing some issues that
Absolutely. I think that's a big one.
We're taking a back seat in years past, but definitely not now.
Railroad Ave, wow. I waited a long time for that to be done, and that's good. And yet the other thing is, just staying with the topic, is that these contractors, and I know they got to go in and I know they got to dig up the street, but I think that they should be pushed to the ultimate to leave that street the way they found it. Pave it right across the street, because that's where that's a lot of problems start. They pave in the middle, terrible, and then it starts eating up, and then on top of that, the public works guys, if it was from here to here, and then into there, that's fine. They only got to do that. But if you got it in the middle, you got to do both sides.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
Tom,
I would.
One of the reasons when you see that long strip down the road from utility work is, remember that oftentimes they're actually giving the town money to come back and pave that road in the future year.
Yeah.
So for instance, this year I think we got $300,000 from National Grid for gas work. So that's additional road work that gets done. It's roads that need it, but we stopped the process a few years ago of asking them to just pave their portion of the road. We would rather say, just fix it, and instead of it, give us the money. We'll manage the project, because we know we're going to get a better project down the end.
Yeah, I understand. But the thing that bothers me, Tony, a little bit about it is, eventually, they give us extra money, but eventually that road, if they don't do it the way I think they should do it, it's going to break up again.
Well, but to Tony's point, that they're not doing the road anymore. So
you guys are, they give you a little money. I understand.
Mark Ryan and his design team, they're managing that whole process. So we get the funding, like Tony says, from National Grid, and he just includes those dollars into the pot to do whatever roadways need to be done. Our biggest challenge is going to be, because we're doing so many roads going forward and sidewalks, is making sure that we're with National Grid about roadways that they're going to make improvements to themselves for gas lines or replacing them. We don't want to be ahead of them. We actually want to be behind them, so that when we come in to do a road, it's all after they've already done their stuff. The worst thing that we want to do is, do all the sidewalks, make it look nice, then do the paving, and then they come to Tony and Mark, say, well, we got to do Railroad Ave. We just paved Railroad Ave last year. Well, we need to put in a new 5-inch gas line. We say, no. We said, well, it's an emergency. We have to do this. So last year, if you remember, Mark correctly pushed out Railroad Ave 1 year so that National Grid could do what they needed to do first, and then he was able to come in this past year and do it. But we need more of that to prevent, especially where we're going into this massive roadway enhancement for the next few years, hopefully.
That's good. I just want to make a comment at this point, and just to thank Brian Dunn He helps us. He helps Michaela, and we go on. You saw him right over here, right down there. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're on. That's awesome. I think it's great, and I want to thank Brian for doing that. Let's go. Hold on now. I'll take my wallet out again. The new tax rate. I'm gonna have to dig in a little bit. New tax rate, guys. By the way, Terry McDonough. I'm telling you, spectacular. He would. I mean, when you, as Tony and I were talking before we went on the show, if you do something and you ad-lib it, and you look it out there, John Fitzgerald Kennedy was awesome at it, okay? Do what you can for your country, not what your country can do for you. And I wish we had somebody who would do that right now, nationally. I really mean that. But Timmy was great. I mean, he really was. I mean, it's just a great job by him. The tax rate, guys, what do you think?
He is credit to Tony and the two fellow assessors that he has. They did present a lot of paper to the selectmen to review, analyze. It provides a lot of good information, especially regarding history, what we've done, where we're going, projections. It's a lot of work on Tim's part. Our challenge was, and I'll use it as at least from my own perspective and the way I looked at it, was this year in particular it needed to be a balanced approach. I don't think we could afford to hit residential more or commercial folks more. I think we looked at a balanced approach, and the number that we picked came out to for residents at $11.34 and commercial at $25.67, represented about a 5.6% increase for both sides. So that was pretty fair. Now, obviously, commercial seems high because 5.6% of a $400,000 tax bill is going to be more than 5.6% of a $5,500 tax bill. But I think our basics were that we needed to be balanced in our approach. And as we come out, compared to the 17 area towns, we're the third, even after the 5.6% increase, we're the third lowest in our surrounding towns. So the only ones ahead of us are Braintree, but they got South Shore Plaza.
Big time.
Number 2 is Newton, and then Norwood is number 3 at 1134. Commercially, we rank 5th highest. So we're not at the top, not at the bottom. We're closer to the middle. But I think we were fair and balanced in our approach and thinking with regards to that. And credit to Tim and his two fellow board members presenting information that made it a little bit easier for us to say, yeah, that's probably the right decision to make, and that's why we did it.
Yeah, you got to be careful, David, because you got a lot of seniors in the town who I think somebody came to me the other day and said to me, "Hey Tom, Social Security, $8 a month." So I've been talking about this for many years. I appreciate what the town employees do. I love the town employees, but you got to be careful. You just can't overdo it. You can't give an over.
Well, I think remaining at number 3 is not overdoing it, and that's number 1. Number 2, there are a lot of exemptions available for seniors.
No, I understand that, David.
That the town over the years has adopted and allows them to put forward the ability to get further tax breaks off their taxes. So it's always on our mind. I think that's why for years and years and years, Norwood has consistently had a very low residential tax rate. We just have to be careful that we're not sort of pushing everything towards commercial and driving them away, because they obviously give a significant amount of our tax money. We're trying to grow. I know if we ever get to it, the Route 1 enhancements that we're trying to do to encourage more business development. So we can't make taxes out of sight for them to say, well, why would I want to do there if they're going to creep up too much. So it was a balanced approach.
5 years from now, you won't notice. Tony, on the tax rate, anything to add to that?
I know, one of the challenges that we're facing is residential property values are growing in town, and they're growing very fast. And that's both good and bad. You always want it to grow rather than stagnate or get smaller. The problem is for the senior in their house, the average senior citizen in their home, and we know that you're not the average senior citizen. You're wealthy, Tom. Independently wealthy, Tom, so it's not a concern for you. But for those other seniors out there, the fact that your house is worth more this year doesn't really help the fact that you still got to pay your bills. And what that does is, as the residential values go up, the taxes you pay are going up, but the town's not getting any more money. And what's happening in Norwood is the percentage of the tax base that's commercial versus residential, the residential portion is growing because those values are growing so quickly. So the base isn't shrinking, but the portion of it that's residential is growing, and the percentage of commercial is shrinking. It used to be in the low 20s, and now commercial is dipping maybe below 20% of the tax base. The problem with that is that means your tax bill goes up, but it's not additional money for the town. So that's a challenge. We got to try to mitigate that. As David said, we've expanded our senior tax work-off program. We're expanding the number of abatements and exemptions that seniors and veterans can do to try to make sure everyone who's in Norwood can continue to afford to live in Norwood.
Yeah. No. I mean, I have
Wealthy
no
guys
problem.
like you aside.
Yeah, I have no problem. I mean, I'm fine, but I speak for veterans and other seniors who are hurting, and other people now because they're falling
COVID,
into
yeah.
this no work, can't work, or whatever. Okay, I want to. Anything else on the tax rate? You guys got everything in there? Okay, I just want to mention something that happened to me about 2 weeks ago when my son Thomas Jr. was here with my granddaughter Katie, who, by the way, may be going to Boston College from Colorado. He said to me, Dad, he says, I'm going to become a citizen of Ireland. Listen to this now, okay? He's going to be, and he needed an original birth certificate. Born in this town, okay, many years ago. So I says, okay. So I calls up the town hall. And by the way, before I get into a little bit more into it, many people have asked me about, is the town hall open? Is the town hall open? Is the town hall? I'm sure you hear it, Tony, all the time. David, I'm sure. Okay, so here's what happened. I says, you need an original birth certificate. Okay. So he gets on the phone, dials, and then the operator answers the phone. I says, could I speak to Mary Lou, please? Mary Lou Foley. Ding, ding, ding. Mary Lou picks up the phone. I says, Mary Lou, how are you? This is Tom Cummings. Her and I were friends way back when I was a town meeting member. She was taking the people's attendance and all that. And she does that one hell of a job.
Back then?
So I said to Mary Lou,
The Roman Senate.
Oh, don't.
did I get the right name?
Yep.
I don't want to blow it.
You're
All
fine.
right.
You're fine.
Mary Lou Ford. Okay, so I said, Mary Lou, here's what I need. I need an original birth certificate for Tom Jr., who's going to become a citizen of Ireland. So she asked me a couple of questions. I answered the questions, and I said, okay. So get off the phone. Tom and I, about maybe 2 minutes later, we drove up to the town hall. I got out, went in the door, Memorial Hall, went in that door. Young lady sitting there waiting, taking care of people, and I told her the situation. Within 5 minutes, I had that document in my hand. How's that for service, guys, okay? So the town hall is open, Tony, huh?
It is. So it's open by, what we're saying is by appointment only right now. And we're actually going to have town hall closed from the day after Christmas to January 19th because we're anticipating another COVID bump. But all of our services are still available. I mean, we went 6 months without opening the building to the public, and we didn't lose a beat. And now we've started opening by appointment only. We've seen the numbers increase. There's still probably only, maybe 20, 25 people that come in during a given day that actually come into town hall. You can pay all of your bills online. You can mail everything in. You can use the Dropbox. So we're looking at a short-term closure of town hall to let more people work from home because we did unfortunately see a spike after Thanksgiving where our numbers went way up in Norwood and every other town in Massachusetts. And we're going to see the same thing after Christmas and New Year's. No matter what, those numbers are going to spike. So we're giving it about a 3-week period. We're making a couple other short-term changes to other buildings as well, just to sort of keep the workforce, as many people home and working remotely and from home as we can for a few weeks. Any service you need from the town, you can always get whether we're open or closed. You just call and we'll find a way to take care of you. We did it for 6 months. We didn't miss a beat. We had all of our veterans appointments. We did all of our inspections. We got the clerk's office, got all the paperwork that they needed. The only thing we stopped doing for a couple months was marriage intentions because we didn't have people physically coming in, but we can arrange those. Just call us ahead of time and you'll get taken care of one way or another.
By the way, I just so you know, I do pay my electric bill and my water bill. I take them right out of my checking account.
Awesome, we love it.
And it hasn't failed me. The tax bill has been a little bit of a problem. I can't seem to maneuver that tax bill, but that's been a little bit difficult.
Comparatively a bigger payment, so we understand that one's a little bit more complicated. You certainly can pay that online, but the other two things you can do with the tax payment, you can always mail it in.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You can also
I
always
do
drop
that,
it off.
yeah.
We have 2 boxes, one right outside Memorial
Yeah.
Hall, and then we got a drive-up box right
Yeah.
by, right in the lot behind Town Hall. So we've given everyone as many ways as we can, and we're going to check back during, I would say during the pandemic. We're still in the pandemic, but when we first closed Town Hall, Norwood Bank stepped up and said that they would take a cash payment if you had no way to pay your bill except for cash. They would take your cash for a Town and Norwood bill, bring them the bill and the cash, and they would turn it into a check that you could drop off in the box for the town. Norwood Bank did that. They stepped up. They're a great local institution that stepped up to help us out. They helped out in a lot of other ways, but that was one particular true business-to-business way they stepped out and really helped us out. So even though we'll have Town Hall closed, hopefully we're just thinking till January 19th and then numbers will get better. We can always take care of everyone no matter what. You just call us and we'll find a way to take care of you.
And by the way, that outside box, that little thing you have in the parking lot,
Yep.
that was Helen Donahue's issue there. She brought it up and she pushed it, and that box is there, and that's a big
Yep.
help. It really
It's been
is. So
wildly successful.
That's hers. Now, another little short story. Again, Colorado people. My grandson Tommy, the third, he's 19, and Katie's 17, and my son. We drove up to Washington Street, okay, and we took a ride, and up and down a couple times. The flags were tattered, they were blown out, they were worn out. And I said, I'm a veteran of this country. I got to do something about that. So who do I call? David. I called David, and I said to David, we got to do something about this, okay? I mean, this is not right. And boy, I'll tell you something. I was so happy. When you guys went to work, and you did one Mark Ryan, Norwood Light Department. David, thank you very much for putting those flags up, and I hope you get them up there, maybe a couple times a year. And yeah, it's a little bit of work, but boy, I'm so happy as a veteran. I thank you very much for doing that, really.
You're welcome. The thanks really go to Tony and his team, because they're the ones that actually did it. All we can do is say, hey, this appears to be an issue. They take a look at it and say, yep, we can do better. And they obviously did, because, yeah, it looked absolutely wonderful. And I actually hope we do it more than just a couple times a year. But it looked great when they were up there. It really was proud to be a great town that showed its colors.
It makes it look so different. It really does.
Yeah.
You come down Washington Street, and they're just flying. They're beautiful, really.
Sure.
It's great. Okay, another one of my pet peeves is the music on the Common. I haven't heard it yet. But how is it going? That's you had a few problems with it.
It was tough to get up and running, but it's
it's
up and
worth it?
running. I mean, it's designed as sort of ambient music while you're there on the Common. We got a compliment on it just last week, and some people think it might be a little too low. We had it up a little bit higher, but we did get complaints from some of the buildings for people who live sort of right near the Common. But it's not designed to be, it's not a concert. It's just as you're walking through the Common, you can hear music. If you go there now, you can hear Christmas music playing.
Yeah, that's great. I got that from David, I think knows, but I don't think you do, Tony. When I was in Colorado, we went to one of the malls, like Legacy Place.
Yep.
We got in the car, and I heard this music. And I said to Tom, where's that coming from? He said, oh, damn, we got music all over the place. So I come back immediately. After I got back here the next day, I went up to see John Carroll, and I said, hey, John, I told John the situation, and John says, hey, Tom, didn't say anything too much, and eventually it worked out. And I thank you guys for doing that, because that's that's great. And you're gonna put them down, run them right down Washington Street at some point.
The goal over time would be to eventually expand the network. We've got to find, we've got to find the money to do it. We have a couple of options, but I mean that system alone on the Common was probably $40,000 just to get that up and running, and more money to continue to expand it. But we're glad we're able to do it. So as you walk around the Common around Christmas time now, you can hear Christmas music. I actually parked right adjacent to the Common. I was going into Lewis's about a week ago, and as I got out of the car, I was able to hear Christmas music. And that was parked sort of on the side of the Common. It's really designed for as you're walking through.
Yeah, that's great. All right, I'm going to skip a couple topics here, and I just want to, as I think you do, Tony, give some nice plugs to some of these restaurants. You got to shop here. You got to keep these people open for a short little period of time. We're nearly there, guys. We got to do it. And I have visited a couple, and make any comment you want anytime. Chalet Jewelry on Washington Street. He fixed this watch for me the other day, and great people. It's a great store. I did a program up there many years ago with Ellen Crowley. Ellen Crowley on in, here with the camera, and me making the commentary, and we did all the jury and everything. And it's just a great store. Supercuts, I was in there today. As you can see, I look pretty good, Supercuts, I have two places, one on Lennox Street and one down Route 1. And I was down there on Route 1, and the owner was there. And I asked her, going into a little inquiry about what's going on. And she said, Tom, yeah, we're going to survive. It's very slow. And they need all the publicity they can get. So, and she said to me she'd be giving me a call to sponsor one of my programs, okay? Luster Cleaners, wow. Luster, they're such great people. I've been up there several times, having some clothes fixed, and they really did a great job. Boston Tavern, down on Moore Street, again, I suggest you maybe, and I've talked to a couple of people, the managers down there, about fixing that sidewalk. They have the ideal place to put an outdoor restaurant. They really do. And by the way, their beer, oh wow, it's great. Conrad's is there, hustling, bustling, and the young ladies, servers are running around, and I go in there frequently. Dave at Mug and Muffin, what a great guy he is, so appreciative. Believe me, he said, Tom, when you guys helped him out a little bit, Mark Ryan and Public Works, he was so happy about that. He really was. Westerbury Farms, that has changed hands on Route 1, right down there, right down in that complex, and he's trying to make it, and he needs all the publicity he can get, and that's mine. Tony, you have anything you want to mention?
I don't want to mention a specific business, but just support all the businesses in town. I mean, you're absolutely right. These businesses need to be here. Buy from them, shop from them, buy gift cards from them, and use those gift cards. If we can get some of these places through a couple more months, I think we're going to see next summer, you're going to see Norwood come alive in a way we couldn't even imagine. This past summer, with a lot of the outdoor dining, downtown looked great. People were out. It was wonderful. Obviously, even if we didn't have COVID, we can't really do that in the winter. But think ahead to next summer. We want all of these restaurants busy inside because we want everyone to feel comfortable eating inside. We want them to be busy outside, busy at their bars, and making more money than they ever had in the past. We want businesses to do well. That's how you really end up being pro-business. It's not just about a program or a policy, or sometimes not necessarily, the tax rate's important, but it's about encourage businesses. You want them to do well. So some of the places that had the really nice outdoor dining setups, I hope they're so busy next year. I hope we're all jammed into restaurants and bars and COVID is a thing of the past, because we want them to do well. And the other businesses that have been hurt, the barbershops, the jewelry stores, every place that people aren't going into. I've been tipping more than I normally do. I've been tipping when I do takeout, or try to tip a little bit more. I know every time I get a haircut, and I get my haircuts here in town, I tip more than average. I'm lucky I'm able to do that, but the idea is that these people suffered a lot. Try to help them make up and try to help them get through. And then once they can get through, by this spring, you're going to see a different country and a different Commonwealth. And hopefully March, April, we could possibly have kids back in school after April vacation. I mean, that would be incredible if a year after this happens, kids are right back in school like they always were. So just support local businesses, try to buy local. I committed to doing a majority of my Christmas shopping locally this year, and I was able to do it, and it felt great. And all of a sudden you start saying, you know what? I'm not going to get people gift cards to a chain. I'm not going to get them here. I'm going to go in and buy them a shirt from a place that's in Norwood. And if maybe you have family and friends outside of Norwood and they're saying, geez, I'm getting all these shirts and all this stuff from places in Norwood. I don't care. It's okay. It's a gift, and I try to buy more of those gifts locally. I think is a great thing as well.
David, anything to add?
Well, I think it's tough to name. You should name them all. It's really tough. Whether you got Napa Tandy's, you got Sunrise, which is right on Washington Street, the Colonial House on Tavern Ave. I mean, there's so many that they're all really good. Our challenge is to create the environment where they can make it through this winter, and then let them do what they can do, what they do best, and they will flourish. We have to make it through this winter. It's going to be tough, a lot of them, but I think we had a very good November, and the early part of December was still conducive to outdoor dining, which people took advantage of, and that has helped them. It took another month off their problem schedule. Instead of having to deal with 3 months of bad issues, now maybe it's down to 2 months. So we're hoping that they will do it. And And I think our town is opening up more and more to the idea of meeting with different types of businesses. What can we do to help you? I know we have a meeting scheduled in the middle of January, the 13th, to talk about outdoor dining, to try to get their input on how successful Tony was able to manage the 2020 situation. Can we do better in 2021? So I think we do have the right type of climate and good ears to listen to what they're saying. We can't always please them on everything that they want, but certainly we can see if there are ways that we can improve what we're doing to make it easier for them to make their living, and that's what we're going to do.
That's great. You know, I was down at the Boston Tavern a week ago Thursday with my son and my granddaughter, and Michaela Hurley. She joined us, okay? She wasn't having a drink, but she joined us. And I'll tell you something. That place, right from 5:30 or so until we left about 9:30, that place is doing well. They really were. I mean, I said, wow, look at these people, you know. And the thing that's going to happen, I think here is with the outdoor restaurants already a thing of Norwood, a part of Norwood, okay? Next summer, you never had these outdoor restaurants. But next summer, they're going to have the inside and the outside, and that's going to be a big deal because, you know, the American citizen loves to eat at a restaurant. They like to go and have a pizza, a drink, or whatever. It's our thing, you know. And this is gonna help.
So one last comment before you got to go. So I hope the one of the things that the state has learned about this whole thing is the issue about outdoor drinking, not to go back to the way it was handled before, because it wasn't the best. We were able to do better for the businesses, still control it without any issues. So I hope the state learns that and takes that into consideration as they update their rules and regulations to allow local communities to do it on their own without having to go through the long regulation process of trying to include outdoors and the indoor space and all the rest. So, because it did work, and there weren't any problems in Norwood that I was made aware of at all.
We never had a single call.
Okay. We got about a very short period of time. I'm just going to do this right now, okay? I'm going to take this down. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to show you. Some of you out there, you've got to put the mask on right, okay? You pull it up over your nose, not like this. That doesn't work. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help Tony. It doesn't help Dave. Guys, we got to go. We've been on for an hour. Michaela Hurley wants to go home. She's got a lot of work to do tonight.
Yeah.
I hope you liked our show this afternoon. Our sponsor, JC Plumbing and Heating, 1156 Washington Street, right near the Ball School. 781-762-8381. David Ajar and Tony Mazzucco. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Really,
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody in the audience.
Yeah. Thank
Merry
you very
Christmas
much.
and Happy New Year.
David, a personal thank you for getting me, special person, get me funded. Next show will be after I receive the shot, okay? After I get the vaccine. I can't take that chance. I may change my mind, okay? Michaela and I wish you all a very, very happy holiday. Be very careful, people. We'll see you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.